Europe and Russia, two of the world's great superpowers, play a crucial role in the global power dynamics. China is now emerging as one of their chief rivals, an economic competitor and sometimes ally, whose relationship with both Europe and Russia could be instrumental in shaping future trends. With U.S. relations fraying due to differences on geopolitical issues and tariffs, China has been able to turn its focus more towards this Eurasian region, where it can leverage its growing influence. This video will explore what implications this shift might have for Europe, talking us through recent developments in Russian aggression, trade ties between all three countries, plus the economic ramifications of a possible Chinese-Russian alignment against U.S. policy objectives. Find out why this is an issue that should not be ignored by European leaders or citizens. This statement made by French President Emmanuel Macron has been met with mixed reactions from both inside and outside of Europe. Experts in China policy expressed their concern that this proposed approach could be seen as a concession to the U.S.'s hawkish stance on China, all while leaving Europeans vulnerable to being dragged into crises caused elsewhere without proper protection. While building a position as an independent power between the two superpowers, especially one that prizes dialogue over conflict, is important for many reasons, not doing so can risk European security and economic interests being overshadowed or taken advantage of. However, despite its obvious economic benefits and strides forward politically, there are still risks associated with significant economic reliance on sectors controlled by and dominated by Chinese firms. Countering this risk is what Macron attempted to discuss when he noted Europe needed to find its own voice, rather than letting others shape their interest when dealing with issues related to international politics. As the world's political dynamics shift, Europe is increasingly becoming conscious of its need to have a unified stance on international affairs. This extends particularly to China, the nation quickly emerging as a global superpower and one which needs diplomatic attention from European countries. Issues like Brexit, trade wars, currency manipulation, and high-tech supremacy are dominating the discussion between Brussels and Beijing. At stake is not just what kind of relationship China has with individual European states, but also how far it should be integrated into discussions at an EU level. For example, after Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, Brussels wanted China to act alongside member states against Moscow's aggression. However, Beijing instead asked for increased cooperation with Russia rather than any hostile response towards them. A key principle guiding a new post-Trump foreign policy must be that Europe understands its own interests first when relating to other superpowers such as China, so that they can protect their sovereignty without getting dragged along by another's decisions or agendas, whether it was Donald Trump's America or Xi Jinping's China. In the wake of increasing Chinese influence, smaller states around Europe's periphery risk becoming pawns in a greater geopolitical game between global powers. It has become increasingly common for European nations to be influenced by external factors, such as the United States and Russia, when formulating their stance towards China. Meanwhile, others believe countries should pursue bilateral relations in order to maximize economic competitiveness relationships, even if they come second or third within strategic or security matters. Yet without collaboration among EU members, individual European states will struggle to increase their leverage over Beijing, whose presence further weakens Europe's bargaining position in important negotiation processes regarding trade, imbalance, etc. European countries are increasingly feeling the pressure to find their own voice in a global world order that seems tipped further towards US-China interaction, with both seeking to drag Europe into a conflict that is not of its making. French President Emmanuel Macron has acted as an advocate for this view, showing great autonomy by encouraging all of Europe to be independent and strive for individual interests when dealing with China. Such activities threaten the future of European economic alliances and meaningful decision-making power within the EU bloc if it does not have greater control over its destiny when dealing with Beijing, something France realizes needs protecting at all costs. Under the rule of Mao Zedong, the country was heavily socialist and closed off to foreign entities. This limited any type of economic engagement and support for businesses, with government restrictions in place curbing investment growth. It wasn't until Deng Xiaoping came into power in 1978 that significant transformation began to take place. He opened up parts of China's economy by welcoming investments from other countries, liberalizing its exchanging rate policy as well, introducing new education systems and technology sector reforms. These developments created a more hospitable environment for companies to set up or expand their presence in the Chinese market, aided by further development that followed, such as increased access available through deregulation of Asia-Pacific Trade Agreement accession to World Trade Organization membership. Deng Xiaoping's economic vision changed things completely. In the late 1970s, Deng Xiaoping took charge and created a series of measures aimed at jump-starting China's economy. He implemented capitalist policies to achieve growth, with private property being held as an important factor for success. He also pushed for greater personal and cultural freedoms, including the respect for individual rights. Thanks to these bold decisions that went against the country's communist roots, China was able to experience incredible economic growth in just a few short years. Deng Xiaoping sought out region-wide cooperation and worked hard to cultivate stronger relationships between ethnic Chinese at home and abroad. This allowed him to tap into overseas Chinese wealth while keeping domestic unrest low by allowing them control over their own businesses, a move that paid off greatly long-term as foreign investment poured into China's cities like never before. China has been keen to increase foreign investment in the country during the last few decades, with a particular focus on multinational corporations. This aim was achieved through various initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative, launched by China's President Xi Jinping in 2013. The BRI is an ambitious plan that seeks to link economic corridors across 6 main regions: China, Central and South Asia, Europe, Russia, and Southeast Asia. Through this initiative, companies are encouraged to invest in projects that will increase connectivity between these countries through ports, roads, and bridges, etc., making it easier for them to conduct business within those regions. Furthermore, huge progress has been made since then when it comes to protecting investments by foreign entities, with Alibaba introducing initiatives designed specifically aimed towards courting consumers located outside of China's border, including those based in U.S. states like California and Oregon. China and Russia have been cooperating more closely together over the past decade, as seen with their signifying a mutual alliance in 2014. This agreement saw Moscow reaffirm its support for Beijing's One China policy, that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China. This crucial partnership could potentially shift global power dynamics drastically away from American world leadership, an outcome many European nations fear coming true given Europe's need to find its own individual voice when it comes to foreign relations matters. To further demonstrate their commitment one another on the geopolitical stage, in August 2020, Chinese State Councilor Wang Yi released a position paper regarding the conflict between Russia-Ukraine conflict, explaining why he believed warring parties should reach a ceasefire or engage talks through peaceful means, something very few Western governments could get behind at that time. China and Russia's strategic alignment in recent years has been a game changer for the global energy market, with Russia exporting ever more of its oil and gas to Asia. In 2022, China's imports of Russian crude oil increased by 8%, equaling 1.72 million barrels per day, while India consumed nearly 60 million barrels of Russian oil, significantly more than the 12 million from the previous year. It also allows them greater security by ensuring dependable buyers for their resources, along with potential political alliances brought about through trade partnerships or initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative and International North-South Transportation Corridor. Finally, these developments bring immense economic benefits to Beijing and Moscow, due largely to reduced shipping costs towards East Asian ports, along with tax reliefs offered by various governments seeking access to vital resources like those provided by Russia's vast reserves. In recent years, China and Russia have been forging closer ties. To some extent, this has been to protect their own interests by reaching new agreements that often exclude Europe in terms of energy exports. Their decision to form firm economic links enabled Russia reroute its oil and gas exports eastward, which now command higher prices than those offered by Europeans due to higher demand for energy throughout Asia-Pacific region countries, such as Japan, India, and South Korea, etc. The resulting disruption has caused uncertainty across the geopolitical landscape, with many questioning how sustainable this trade alliance between two nations really is, given differences still remain in terms of values, culture, and societal norms, etc. The global world order is undergoing a seismic shift, with US-China tensions mounting and other major powers emerging as potential counterweights. The concept of the Great Reset has been gaining traction in recent months, referring to the need to address existing vulnerabilities and update existing systems accordingly. Such realities emphasize the importance of breaking free from economic stagnation. However, trade wars present new challenges that must be addressed collectively across countries with different levels of influence on the international stage.